Jon Stewart, you magnificent bastard. I fucking love you and you've done it again. So Irresistible is what I would call a political satire comedy. It was written and directed by the great Jon Stewart, and it stars a great cast of Steve Carell, Rose Byrne, Chris Cooper, and Mackenzie Davis. Now I'm going to tell you right now, this video is going to have a lot of spoilers. Spoilers that are going to literally ruin the entire movie for you if you want to go into this blind. Even if you've seen the trailers all the way through, every single one of the trailers, this video is going to spoil some very important things about this movie for you. So with that out of the way, I'm going to jump right into it.
Democrats are getting their asses kicked. We need some way to road test a more rural-friendly message.
If you can't live your principles in the bad times, I guess they aren't principles, they're just hobbies.
So in this political satire comedy, it follows a vet in a small town. From the very beginning, you see him giving a speech at a town hall meeting about a new policy that's going into effect that he doesn't agree with. That blows up on the internet because somebody took a video of it, put it on YouTube, and somebody brings it to Steve Carell, or at least who Steve Carell is playing. Steve Carell plays a top political analyst and campaign strategist who is down in the dumps a little bit because he was part of the campaign for Hillary Clinton, and this takes place right after Donald Trump was elected. So some kid brings him this video and he sees this. He thinks it's a great way to bring the Democratic Party back down to earth, back to the Midwest, and get the key swing state of Wisconsin by taking over the campaign for this small Midwestern town guy of a town of about 15,000 people and run him as a moderate and possibly bring the Democratic Party more into the middle ground to appease more conservatives for the next election. So he goes to this small town, he talks to him, he convinces him to run for mayor. After his campaign starts to get off the ground a little bit and starts to gain some traction, the Republican Party at the federal level comes in to challenge him to back the current mayor of this town who's running as a Republican. The campaign strategist is played by Rose Byrne, and she is a bit of a famous opposition for Steve Carell, it seems like. They go head to head all the time, and they have a bit of a hate but I'm attracted to you relationship, which is pretty obvious. As things start to ramp up, it becomes national coverage, it gets federal attention, and they form super PACs, and there gets millions and millions and millions of dollars in donations. We learn at the end it is $45 million in donations to these two campaigns. What we learn in the very end, and now this is where the huge spoiler comes in, is it was all a ruse. In the very beginning, the speech you saw by the small town vet that is running as a Democratic mayor was staged. It was all staged by the entire town. The daughter was taking the video, they acted it out, they put it on the internet. The guy that brought it to Steve Carell, knowing that he would take the bait, was from that small town and a family friend, and the entire town was in on this, and nobody voted for these two guys, so it was a tie, and they had $45 million of super PAC money at their disposal to help this struggling town. And that is the huge, huge twist of this movie, and I'm gonna be 100% honest. I did not like this movie that much until the very end. I'm going to tell you why it changed in only the last 15 minutes and why I now love this movie and think it's brilliant. So first off, what really made this nice was this twist was kept an immense secret. I had no idea about it. Granted, I didn't do a whole lot of research, but I did watch all of the trailers for this movie, and it was never even hinted at. It wasn't a tiny little thing. You didn't think it was a twist. You just thought it was this movie about these two campaigns in the small town run by bigwigs who didn't understand the Midwestern small town lifestyle and got national attention, which is very weird, and you kind of got to suspend your disbelief with, because I live in a town of 5,000 people. Right next door to me, there's a town of 15,000 people, and I guarantee you, nobody knows who the fuck we are. It does not matter who would be running for mayor. Nobody would care. It wouldn't get national attention. They don't even make a living yearly salary. They got jobs they meet like once a month to do tiny little things. Not to say local government is not important. It is immensely important. I am a huge advocate for paying attention to your local government and going to city council meetings and having your voice heard. But I'm just telling you, none of those DC people would give a fuck about this town. Does not matter what. But I suspended my disbelief for that, and that's fine. It actually makes a lot of sense at the end when you figure out this huge ruse. But like I said, I didn't enjoy this movie until the very end. I had quite a few laughs, but the main characters, even Steve Carell, had not redeemed themselves. Usually when you have a main character like this that is not a good person, that is doing all these bad things throughout the movie, and you think they're supposed to be the good guy, you're looking out for a redemption arc, something that brings them back and makes you think, oh, this is a good guy, I should be rooting for them. I'm glad that I was watching this person throughout the entire movie. But that never happened. We never got that moment. It wasn't until the very end when you realize that you're not supposed to be rooting for this guy to win the election. You're supposed to be rooting for this small town and this vet and the current mayor who honestly don't have a whole lot of screen time or talking time. You're supposed to be rooting for them. And in the end, they come out victorious and stick it to these DC elites that are just using them as a stepping stone, using them as a way to get back in the good graces of America, and just honestly looking down on them and talking down to them this entire movie. And it all makes a whole lot of sense when you get to the end of it. And when you get to the end of it as well, a lot of the weird things going on throughout the movie make sense. Now, this is going to seem like a weird comparison, but Jordan Peele's movie Get Out has a lot of comparisons to this movie, much in the sense that as you're watching Get Out and this movie, you notice weird things that happen all the time that don't really make a lot of sense. In this movie, it's the fact that he gets to this town and everybody instantly knows his name after the very first day. And you think, I mean, I guess that can be explained by word going quickly through a small town. So in the morning, everybody knows his name, everybody's giving him coffee and donuts and being nice to him. But no, it was all a manipulation tactic to get this guy to do what they wanted through this course of events that they needed to happen perfectly. And it's much like Get Out in the way that it kind of makes you want to rewatch this movie through the lens of knowing what's going to happen next. While I did say that the main character of this movie, Steve Carell, is a bit of a terrible person throughout this movie, that does not mean that Steve Carell himself was not a powerhouse in this, carrying this movie on his shoulders. Every other actor was phenomenal, but I don't see enough of Steve Carell anymore. And when I do see him, he's usually in a comedy. The last thing I remember seeing Steve Carell in an actual recent thing, not just of reruns of The Office that I watch on TV or on Netflix, is The Big Short. And he was very good in that. But it's nice seeing him back in a bit of a comedic role. And I really, really like that this is rated R. They're able to drop F-bombs and shits and bitches and asses and all like this. You know, it's great. It's great seeing a movie that's not afraid to be real. And that is what you get when you have Jon Stewart. Now, if it's not already apparently obvious, which it should be, I love Jon Stewart. I think he is one of the most amazing people that we have here in America. What he did with The Daily Show, bringing news to people at large in a way that people would find interesting and entertaining and be able to consume without having to slog through the boring monotony of daily news shows that you normally get on the networks, was really, really nice. And then when he stepped down from that spotlight, he still kept his foot in the political door of America, and he spent years and years and years fighting for the rights and for the health of 9/11 first responders that dreadfully needed it, that did not get the attention and the help they needed from Congress and from the American system. And this movie is not a step back from him. This movie points the finger at things that need to be changed. It points the finger at the DC elite that don't care about small Midwestern towns, don't care about people unless they live in a swing state and really only want to be slightly better of a person than their opposition. It points the finger at the broken system that we have of elections and how it's painted as entertainment in the media rather than people trying to build and sustain a government. Through comedy and through satire and many, many, many points in this movie, it makes you realize the broken system that we have on both sides of the aisle, all the way until the very end when you have this twist and it shows that these people were just trying to get their small slice of the pie for their town. They put aside their partisan politics and manipulated the system in a way that would actually help the people so that they can recover their town that nobody gives a shit about except every 4 years when they need their vote. Jon Stewart said all of these things in an hour and 50 minutes of extremely entertaining media in ways that you were able to digest because you were laughing while learning them. And then in the very end of the movie, just punched it right home and made you realize that he knew what he was doing. So yes, this movie is hilarious. I enjoyed every aspect of it, putting aside the political leanings of it and the way it tries to shine a light on the broken system of government and politics and elections and media. I had a very good time. The acting was good, it was funny, and even without all of that deeper message, it was very entertaining and I would have enjoyed it otherwise. But I feel like that isn't the center focus of the movie, so that's not the center focus of my video. But I feel like I should say, if you don't give a shit about any of that, you're still going to enjoy this movie, so please check it out. Thanks. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my other videos.